Have you ever wondered how the conversations we have with ourselves in private are shaping the conversations we have with everyone else? Because I have. Hello, beautiful people. I am Love Ravina, and you're listening to Version by Version, the Love Ravina podcast. In this episode, I want to talk about the biggest lessons that living alone has taught me. And no, it has nothing to do with independence, and it also has nothing to do with resilience. The biggest lesson that living alone has taught me is very unexpected, and it is about why it is very important for us to create intentional space or intentionally create space for ourselves, because that shape the kind of conversations we have with other people or our day-to-day interactions. Now, you might be wondering, Love, what is the relationship between living alone and communication? Now, let me tell you my story. 2 years ago, in 2024, the company I work for offered me a job promotion. But that job offer or promotion came with its very unique condition. I had to move to Cebu to work for the company and for me to get the promotion. And so I made a choice. I made the choice to accept the job offer and the job promotion and move here in Cebu. Now, I'm not really quite sure what came to my mind that time, but looking back at it, I now think that I overestimated myself. I overestimated my ability to navigate this transition or navigate this new season of my life. What do I mean by that? Imagine this: moving to a new city with no family or friends, and at the same time, learning how to be on my own or learning how to live alone. At the same time, on top of that, is also learning how to fulfill my job responsibilities as a division head with bigger responsibilities, and at the same time, the stakes are higher. Now, the craziest part as well is that in that same time period or same year, 2024, my long term relationship, my 6 year relationship ended as well. So, can you imagine? I moved to a different city with no friends and no family. I had to learn how to be on my own and live alone. I had to also do my job with greater responsibilities, and the stakes are higher. And at the same time, I was recovering from a breakup. I would honestly have to say that 2024 was one of the most difficult seasons of my life. I felt like everything in my life changed at once, and I felt like I had to learn how to walk again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was overwhelmed, and at the same time I was almost always feeling sad and feeling lonely as well. And it was very tempting to run away from my problems. It was very tempting to just go back to my hometown and leave the life that I have started building here in Cebu. And so came the very fact that I was living alone. You might be wondering, okay, now what is the relationship between, being on your own, living alone, and communication as well? You see, when you live alone, it actually forces you to confront your internal thoughts and your emotions as well. And that's what living alone has created for me. It created a space for me to confront my own thoughts and my emotions. And at the same time, when you live alone, you're very free from external distractions. Okay? Like, you don't have a family member, let's say your sibling, randomly knocking on your door and saying something, or you won't hear your parents fighting. So you don't have these external distractions, you don't have these external factors that will make it easier for you to run away from your problems. And that's exactly what happened to me. All of those big things happening in my life, all of those changes happening in my life, and I was on my own. Basically, I have both the physical space and the mental space as well. And I said earlier, that space forced me, okay? I felt like at that time I had no choice but to face these problems, these challenges, these thoughts, and these emotions on my own. And most especially, I would have to say that living alone made it very difficult for me to distract myself. Okay, I noticed that when I have problems or there are things that I'm not yet ready to face, which I don't think we're really ever ready to face these challenges, I could just distract myself, right? But when I moved here in Cebu and I was on my own, I couldn't do that. I was basically forced to face my challenges, my problems, and at the same time, navigate these difficulties at the same time or as well, you know? And that is not like the end, all right? Because space was only the trigger. But what that space has offered me or has given me is awareness. When I finally decided and realized that I really couldn't run away from my problems, I really couldn't run away from the consequences of choosing to live alone, choosing to move on and choosing to really like face these big moments in my life, I became more aware. And that awareness is actually more on what's happening inside me. Okay, I started hearing the kinds of conversations I have with myself, meaning to say, I started noticing and became more aware of my inner dialogue or my negative self talk. One of the many things that I have noticed when I was confronted by these emotions and these thoughts is that I am very, very self critical. I judge myself so easily. I overthink a lot. I also trying to please everyone because I felt like if I won't do it, then I will really be ending up alone. Right. And so I started noticing these kinds of conversations. I would catch myself telling myself statements like, you don't deserve the promotion, love, or you never should have left home, or you cannot survive on your own, or why did you even made the stupid choice to leave your comfort zone, leave your hometown when in fact you can, spend most of your time with family or you can just do other things instead of just being here ruminating about what's happening in your life right now. And at the same time, I also would catch myself telling myself, you never should have ended that relationship. See, look at yourself right now. You're alone. You will be alone forever. Like those are the kinds of conversations I was having with myself. And I'm not sure, but I think, like, as I look back, I really think that it was very, very overwhelming and it was very, very difficult as well. Now, that is not the crazy part because the craziest part about it is that I also started having the awareness of the fact that the conversations I was having with myself also were shaping the conversations I have with the people around me. Okay, because I was so self critical, I was not aware at first that I was also becoming so critical at work, so critical when I talk to other people. I actually remember two instances, all right? One is I remember this event that I attended with my friend, and objectively speaking, I would say the event wasn't as good as I expected it to be. And so what happened was that as I was observing the flow of the event, I started, commenting on it. And I was telling my friend, I told her, what is wrong with the host? Can't they transition well? Or what is wrong with the organizers? Can't they do a better job? Like, why is the stage like that? Why is the slides like that, etc.? Like, those criticisms. And you know what my friend told me? She told me, love, you are not the host. You are not the event organizer. You can't do anything about that. So please, can you just please enjoy the show? And that was an eye opener for me. I was like, yeah, right? Love. You're not the host. You're not the event organizer. You can't do anything about what is happening right now. Like, you can't control it. You can't change it. So why are you being so critical? And that's when I realized, wait, this is the love that talks to me when I am alone. The self critical love, the judgmental love, the love that's overthinking, you know? And I brought that, like that love showed up in that conversation. Now, that's just one instance. I remember another instance at work. Okay, at work. I was having this one on one conversation with my team member, and they started sharing their experiences at work, the difficulties that they were facing at work as well. And at the back of my head, I was like, what the hell? Like, why are you telling me your problems? Like, can't you solve your problems on your own? That's why you're here. You have to do your job, okay? But of course, I did not tell that person, but like at the back of my head, it was like that. But what I told them was that, okay, thank you for telling me. I hope you'll be able to solve your problem. That's it. And that was crazy because I was their boss. Okay. I was leading this team member. And what do leaders do? Leaders help, leaders support. But what I did at that time, I was so passive. I did not do anything at all to help my team member. And then later, what I realized is that my team member, like that teammate, told me their concerns, told me their struggles because they've already done everything on their own and they were basically seeking help from me. But I was not able to do that because I was so critical and I was just judging them and I was just, thinking about I was basically being selfish at that time. I was just thinking about like, okay, that's your problem, solve it on your own. Right? And again, that was another like moment that made me realized that conversation I brought to work was the same conversation I was having with myself in private. And those moments were very, very important for me because it was during those times that I realized, hold on, like, wait a minute, love. This is not the person that you want to be. Like, you don't want to be the leader or a friend that is judgmental, that is so critical, that only sees the wrong or the what's lacking or the negative things. You don't want to be the leader who cannot offer support or help or cannot even empower their team member. Like, that is not the kind of person that I want to be. And it was so crazy because I had to go through those experience for me to realize that, you know? And so I honestly took some time to sit down with myself to finally embrace the fact that I have this physical and this mental space to really think through, reflect on my experiences, and face the consequences of the decisions I have made. Number one, I made the choice to move here in Cebu. I made the choice to live alone. I made the choice to end the relationship. I made the choice to accept the job offer. And nobody pointed a gun at me, forcing me to do those things. I chose them. And so that realization and that moment as well made me take intentional action. Okay, I really told myself, you know what? This is BS. Okay, like this is not the kind of person that I want to be. I envision myself as a person, a professional, a friend, a leader, like just a woman who empowers other people, who is positive, who is optimistic, who supports other people, who is generous enough, who does not criticize or does not judge herself and other people. And because of that awareness, which again, living alone gave me because it created a space for me to become more aware, because of that realization, I took intentional steps and actions. First, I started intentionally using my space, my space in my condo to reflect, to journal, and to think through my day to day experiences and my day to day interactions with other people. And at the same time, the conversations I'm having with myself as well. So I journal them, I write them down. I even, like, from time to time, I post like podcast episodes, audio podcast episodes, just talking about what I'm learning and what I'm thinking, because that allowed me to process my experience. At the same time, I also started going out more often instead of just staying at home and ruminating and just overthinking. So I started like finding other ways to not really, like, it's more like an outlet, to change or convert the negative energy into something more productive. So I started, it was most especially last year, 2025, that I started doing more solo dates, doing more solo adventures, doing things that I've never done before. Because last year, actually, I made a commitment to myself that every single month I will do something new. So last year, I took a dance class. I learned how to bake cupcakes. I tried hiking. Like, I tried a lot of things because I want to again convert these negative energy, my overthinking. Because when you overthink, you're also using a lot of energy. It's just that the thing is, it's not a productive energy. I mean, it's not a productive use of your energy. And so I decided perhaps I could use the energy that I have or convert it into something healthier and something more productive as well. So that's the second thing that I did. And then the third thing that I did was I also started like meeting other people. So literally, I started going on dates with other people and at the same time joining mixers and even working on co working spaces where I can see other people as well. That is because I've learned that every time I talk to someone and they share their unique experiences or perspectives with me, then that also allowed me to like see the world, see life, and see the things happening in my life in a different lens, in a different perspective. Instead of just looking at it in a very judgmental way or in a very critical way, I started looking at experiences as opportunities, as graces I've received because I am able to witness all of these things happening in my life. Okay, so those are just the things, main things that I did to gradually change the conversations that I'm having with myself. And they're important because those activities, those intentional, meaningful, productive, and healthy activities also allowed me to like myself even more. I realized, okay, going back to how I started, I was navigating living alone. I was also learning how to do my job in this new role, like leadership role. And at the same time, I was recovering from a breakup. So, one way to look at it and how I used to look at it is that these things were very heavy and difficult and really, really, like, it had a negative impact on me. But then when I started doing these productive things like reflecting, journaling, going on adventures, meeting other people, I started to see the world in a different lens. And then that's when I realized, wait, I can do more meaningful things than just ruminating on the negative things or than just ruminating on the things that I don't like about what's happening in my life. There are other ways that I can use my time, other ways that I can use my energy, and that made me like myself more. And because I started liking myself more, the conversations I was having with myself changed as well, although not overnight. Okay. From time to time, I still catch myself, having a negative self talk or criticizing, becoming so critical. But the thing now is, every time I catch myself doing that, I then try to change the narrative or change the story that I have or I tell myself. So, for example, when I try something new, the self critical or the judgmental love, the self critic in me would say, "You're such a loser. You cannot get it on your first try." But then the other voice that I hear is that it's telling me, "Love, it's okay. You haven't done this before. It's your first time. So give yourself more chances or more opportunities." And what that did to me is that it also gradually changed the conversations I was having with other people. I'm really proud of myself. I would have to say that, because right now I can say that I am more supportive. I now use more empowering and encouraging words, especially when I talk to myself and I talk to other people. And at the same time, I am now more intentional about understanding other people's experiences. Because I know for myself that if I'm going through something difficult, sometimes I just want other people to listen to me and understand what I'm going through. And I'm also able to do that to my team and or to other people. As they say, you can't give what you don't have, right? So if I cannot give myself the grace and the kindness and the compassion, then I also cannot do that to other people. And so, what I'm trying to say here is that, of course, I'm not arguing and I'm not telling you to live alone or like find a new city and go there and be on your own. That is not the whole point. The lesson is not about living alone. But I think the lesson I am getting from my experience so far is about this space and how it is important that we intentionally create space for ourselves. And space can look very different from person to person. Maybe for you, space looks like journaling, or space can be hiking, space can be walking or offering a prayer or meditating or doing yoga or driving. The whole point is that we create or we intentionally create space for ourselves, and that space should be used to notice the our thoughts, our emotions, and the kinds of conversations we are having with ourselves in private. And of course, I'm not saying that you drastically change your life or drastically do something big just so you can create that space. You can actually start with something small. And this is now a practice that I do with myself and I do at work as well. What you can try to do, if I may suggest, is before your next conversation, let's say with a teammate or with your boss or with a friend, try to pause, because pausing is also one way of creating space. Okay, you don't have to dive right into the conversation. Just give yourself grace to pause and notice what conversations are you already having with yourself before the actual conversation. Because what I have learned is that when we create space, we, I mean, when we create space, it also allows us to create awareness or to become more aware. And that awareness should be created, that awareness rather creates intentionality. When you start noticing your beliefs, your thinking patterns, your thought process, your emotions, even your tendencies, you are able to make intentional and meaningful changes as well. And so, right now, I am beginning to believe that communication starts with the relationship we have with ourselves. And at the same time, right now, I am still exploring and learning as well how to intentionally create more space in my everyday life. Okay, like Of course, change does not happen overnight. It happens through consistent, intentional action. And that is something that I would like to encourage you to do as well. So, yeah, that is the relationship about living alone and communication. So, in a nutshell, living alone for me has created a space that forced me to confront my internal thoughts and my emotions. And at the same time, it allowed me to become more aware of these thoughts and emotions as well. And that awareness made me realize that the conversations I was having with myself are shaping the conversations I have with everyone else. And I decided, okay, if that is the case, then I should try or start to change the conversations I'm having with myself. I need to have more productive and healthier conversations so that when I talk or have conversations with other people, it's productive, healthier, and empowering as well. And up to this day, my dear friends, my dear listeners, I am still practicing that more intentionally as well. So, there you have it. I hope that you learned something from this, from my experience, and I hope that you can also take intentional steps or intentional ways on how you can create that space for yourself. Now, before we end, I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to Bagong Pilipinas Studios Visayas for giving me this space to record this episode. And I really appreciate the time, the energy, and the effort that Bagong Pilipinas Studios Visayas are making to support Filipino creators like me. And so, if you are someone who'd like to start their podcasting or content creation journey, then I definitely encourage you to check them out on their socials. There you have it, my dear listeners, and all of the beautiful people out there. If you have learned something from this episode, or if you would like to share your insights as well, please feel free to leave a comment so we can continue our discussion there. I would love to connect with all of you. And of course, please also subscribe to my channel or subscribe to this podcast version by version, the Love Ravina podcast, so you won't miss the next episode. Most importantly, you can also check me out or follow me, not check me out, follow me rather on my social media. Like you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at the Love Ravina. So thank you so much for staying tuned and staying until the very end. I really appreciate your time and your life as well. Until next time, remember, we are all a work in progress, one version at a time. I'll see you in the next version.